Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. I'm in on this Friday night live from our studios on Isabelle Street in Ville, Saint-Laurent. I was here last week to bring you the English podcast from the studio where I actually host my French podcast, the Sick Podcast, from. So many of you liked it. Back by popular demand, I'm back, and today's going to be even better than it was a week ago because I'm not going to only have one, but actually two guests with me, and they're actually going to be here in studio with me. Why? To talk about the Montreal Canadiens down by a score of 3-1 on Thursday night in Edmonton. The Canadiens rally back with 4 straight goals to take a 5-3 lead in period number 3. Out of that 5-3 lead, 2 goals went to Alex Newhook. 2 goals went to Cole Caulfield. The Canadiens were rocking and rolling, and when things just looked like they were going their way and the Edmonton Oilers couldn't keep pace with the Montreal Canadiens, unfortunately for the Canadiens, a couple of bad penalties, a couple of bad calls from the officials as well, maybe some indiscipline. Samuel Montembeault didn't come up big when the Canadiens needed him to. Some bad bounces didn't go the Canadiens' way last night. A learning moment from them. Players upset with the referees. Cole Caulfield not happy. Brendan Gallagher not happy. Head coach Marty St. Louis not happy either. Josh Anderson didn't speak to the members of the media because if he would have been even more upset than all of those guys put together. The Edmonton Oilers end up scoring a couple of goals on the power play to tie it at 5, and with 1 minute and 9 seconds left in regulation, they score the game-winning goal courtesy of Paul Colson. The Canadiens lose by a score of 6-5. An off day for them today. They're going to be back at it tomorrow night in Vancouver versus the Vancouver Canucks. It'll be 3 games in less than 4 nights. How will the Canadiens play tomorrow night? Will they rebound? And I think it's safe to say they're going to go back to Jakub Dobiš, because if they don't, something's wrong. We'll talk about it all with Stu Cowan from the Montreal Gazette and HockeyInsideOut.com and Brian Wilde from Global TV Montreal. I'm Marinaro.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. Bittt. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on the Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset light 3PL that's driven to be different, from cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States. Energy moves it all. They're fast, reliable, and powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. If you need a real partner in transportation, contact the team at sick@shipenergy.com, and CO Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. Also, a shout-out to Playground. If you haven't really played poker until you played at Playground, voted Fan Choice Best Poker Room at the 2025 Global Poker Awards. Enjoy free drinks at every table, free food at all cash games and daily tournaments, plus the biggest events in the game, like the World Poker Tour and the World Series of Poker Circuit. Don't miss your shot at the world record Babby jackpot, now closing in at about $1 million, just minutes from downtown Montreal, across the Mercier Bridge. This is Playground. Also, a shout out to our partner Bittt at Tibi that launched their new Ultra Lager, a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer, perfect for those cool fall days with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light, ultra refreshing. I promised you some guests, and I promised you that they would be in studio. They're going to find it kind of cool because while the show is going on, they'll be able to watch themselves on the big screen that'll be right in front of me. I hope you're all enjoying our new studio, and I hope you like it as much as we do. From the Montreal Gazette and hockeyinsideout.com, Stu Cowan will make his way to my left, and Brian Wilde of Global TV Montreal will make his way to my right. Brian, how are you? Thanks for coming by. Thanks for coming by. Here we go. Here we go. We got the headset here if you want it. You don't have to use it, mind you. Thanks for being here, Brian.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. It's
you like it?
Amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. The outlay financially, I can't imagine it wasn't $5. It's pretty amazing. Yeah. Got a switcher over here.
Thank God for monthly plans. Thank God for monthly plans. We were taking a look at the finances last night, and I got good news, as a matter of fact, in terms of the way it's all coming along. And the good news is that we should be finished paying for everything by 2072. So I figured, you know what?
Well, good for you.
I was born in 72. Maybe it's a sign. Maybe it's a good number, you know?
But it's seriously, this is an amazing setup.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Thank you. You want to just get the mic a little bit closer to you, because the closer the mic goes, actually, the better it'll be.
It's kind of amazing. Like, Stu and I have been in the industry for a very long time. We are definitely veterans.
Yeah.
And we have seen so many changes. I got to Montreal in 1995, and there were 9 people led by Ron Rouche back in the day. And then it became 7 and 5. And then it was just Randy and me. And then they said they didn't need us. And then, you can see the transition of the world right in front of us,
Yeah, the times are changing, and look, we're proud too, because as you know, I've been doing it from home for ever since we started.
And you'll do it some from home still, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you got to give yourself a break too.
Well, what happens is usually when the Canadians play is when I do them from home, but I'm on television until about 6 o'clock at night. And so if I'd have to come here to do after the games, that means I would have to watch the game over here too, which means I get here over here at around 7 o'clock or 8 or 9, depending on what time the game starts. And then I'm on after the game. And then all of a sudden I'm never home. So I want to be home a little bit, or else, you know what? My wife and I, it's not going to end well. And I don't want that to happen. So I still do some from home, but I have to tell you that the new studio, obviously we have a studio like this. So we want to use it as much as we can. And I think one of the things we've been talking about with Agnello and all transparency with our listeners and our viewers is that when the Canadiens play, sure, I'll do them from home. Every now and then I might do them from here. But for the most part, when the Canadiens do not play, we'd like to be able to do as many from here as possible. Speaking of the studio, we have some initiatives that we're going to announce in the next couple of weeks, which concerns listeners and viewers and stuff like that. But we have a lot of really interesting things on the horizon. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. But you talked about the transition. Once again, most podcast studios are, you get to do them from home, which is obviously very, very practical. I used to, when I started off, Agnello and Sammy had a podcast studio in their home, and I was doing them there. And then COVID happened.
Right.
And then obviously seeing Sammy's condition, and he who has been, suffering with spinal muscular atrophy since the age of 9 months old, obviously his immune system we couldn't take any chances at all. So I stopped going there. And then, we stopped doing them for a week or 2 or 3 or 4. And then all of a sudden, Sammy, who's just goes to show you how ahead of the game he is. This is not a word of a lie. So during COVID, Sammy, after about 3 or 4 weeks, said, we're going to have to adjust because this thing might take a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
COVID. And so he said, go out there, invest and make your own podcast studio. And that's how we're going to do it. So, you know what? I set up my own podcast studio, and that's how we did it. And then last year at the end of the season, we said, okay, you know what? We got to a level that we think we like, but we want to be able to take it to another level now. What can we do? So we amped up added a couple of collaborators that weren't with us last year, which I think has made it obviously even better. And then we said, you know what? Why don't we invest in a studio? And we went around and we saw about 5 or 6 or 7 of them. And in the end, we found this one here in Ville Saint Laurent. We had seen some in Nuns Island, which was obviously nice too, practical because it's close to the Montreal Canadiens training facility. So, reporters could probably come over, and I saw the practicability of that. But that would have been very far from Sammy's home. And Sammy wants to be here every day, and they live in Kirkland, and I live in LaSalle. So in the end, I think we found something pretty much in between here in Ville Saint Laurent, and everyone's happy. And so that's it.
Sammy's a smart young man.
Sammy's very smart, as you can see. Yeah, there we go. Look at it. We got the screen. There we go. That's what it looks like on television right now.
Works for me too. I'm an NDG.
Yeah,
I can get here super fast.
and you're in Longueuil, are you not, or in Brossard? Are you in Brossard? Yeah,
depends on the bridge.
Yeah,
but actually, the new Champlain Bridge is a lot better than the old one. So
it is, eh? Yeah, that's good to hear. Okay, you know what wasn't good last night, especially if you ask any Montreal Canadian fan,
you could be doing 1 or 2 topics right now.
Would be the refereeing.
Okay, well, that's one.
But so look, if I asked you right now, and this is a really tough question, if you had to put it on one thing more than any other thing, would you attribute last night's loss to the Edmonton Oilers to refereeing, the lack of discipline, Samuel Montembeault, McDavid, and the Oilers' power play taking over, or the Canadiens' penalty kill killing them? What would you attribute it to the most? Start used to?
Well, Edmonton's got a killer power play, and the referees gave them all kinds of opportunities and some that weren't warranted. But at the end of the day, sorry,
there we go.
The newspaper guy doesn't know how these mics work. But at the end of the day, Samuel Montembeault has to make more saves and more big saves in key moments. The goal 4, goal 5 to tie it both on the power play, goal 6, even strength. He looked a little weak on it. So I think, as Brandon Gallagher said, the Oilers are good enough. They don't need help from the refs. They did get a lot of help from the refs.
Did you put the 6th goal on him? Yeah.
Well,
Matheson's got to tie up put goals in, guys. Matheson,
but you need a big save. You need a goalie to make a big save at a time when the team, especially when the team's sort of losing, right? They were so upset from the referee calls and they're losing. You need a goalie to make a big save to get you a win. And Sam Montembeault, and I love Sam Montembeault, and he's struggling this season, and it's been hard to watch.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the Canadiens, Jacob Dobish is playing great,
yeah.
But they didn't get enough saves from him. But the refereeing was so questionable, and especially on a day, when they had the big gambling scandal in the NBA, and you're wondering, I mean, the call, Gallagher said that they admitted they screwed up on the boarding call on Slavkovsky, which was not a boarding call.
No.
And then, the questionable sort of tripping call on Matheson, they score. But the call,
Oilers didn't score on that one, by the way. We should know.
Didn't. That's right. Yeah.
But the Canadiens had a 5-3 lead, and they were pushing the pace.
Yeah.
And they were taking it to the Edmonton Oilers, and they were coming in waves. And by Slavkovsky getting that penalty, then all of a sudden you're on the defense for a couple of minutes, right? And you've stopped attacking, Brian.
Yeah, I think if you had to pick one moment, it would be the 5-4 goal. I think others would argue it was 5-5 because they were still leading by 1. But I felt when they made it 5-4, it was inevitable. I just felt it was inevitable.
You saw it coming, eh?
Anybody could see it coming. As soon as they made it 5-4, you went, well, this is going to be 5-5. There's just no way this is not going to be 5-5. I was surprised, though, by 6-5. I thought they would be able to take it to overtime because they had been a very dominant team, 5-on-5 the entire game. Two of the Lions had, with about 10 minutes left in the game, the last time I looked, they had better than 95% expected goals. The Capitan line was absolutely dominant.
Yes.
The Suzuki line was absolutely dominant. And so 5-on-5, I thought they would, but go on and win that game or make it 6-5 in regulation, but not get scored upon, which just tells you so much about momentum, right? For a young team, that they suddenly were on the back.
But you said something, you could see it coming. I'm going to be very transparent here, okay? Ryan Whitney of Spitting Chicklets yesterday tweeted a few things about the Canadiens and their fans and whining and this and that. But I think at one point he tweeted something during the hockey game like, well, when Edmonton was leading, it was like, well, now we see how really good the Canadiens are now that they're going up against the contender. Like the Oilers are good. Never mind none of those, nothing teams that they beat. And at one point I was going to respond to the tweet and say, well, now we see, the Oilers playing against a good team that has outskated them, outpaced them, outscored them, outchanced them once the Canadiens had come back. And they were doing this, the Canadiens, even after playing a back-to-back in 2 games and as many nights and with the little travel that there was and all that stuff. And I was about to tweet that. And as soon as I was about to tweet it, the Oilers scored the goal to narrow it to 5-4. And I selected it. I backed off and I didn't tweet it at all because like Brian said, I could feel like the tides were shifting. I could feel it.
And then the penalty to Anderson.
Yeah.
I mean, watching the replay, what did he do? I mean, unsportsmanlike conduct. Usually unsportsmanlike conduct, you'll see what the guy did. And, they're saying after, I think it was Gallagher saying they showed the ref up, but I don't know what he said to him or what. There was nothing you could see. And at that point, an NHL referee has to have some thicker skin, right? You've admitted, or at least Gallagher says they admitted they screwed up on the call on Slavkovsky.
Let's hear from Gallagher if we can. For those who missed it, okay? Let's hear from Brendan Gallagher. Do we have it?
Started with Slav's penalty. Talked to him after that one. They admitted it wasn't a penalty, made a mistake. It's an emotional game. Temperatures are hot. Understand that. Control the game. Understand, you made a mistake. We're shorthanded again. Give a guy a second. No need to call that. I thought our guys played a really good game. We were checking their top players, doing what we needed to do. We responded really well. Could we have handled our emotions better? Of course, we'll talk about that. But situations in the game, obviously they got some high-end talent. They don't need the help.
It wasn't clear, though, what the penalty on Josh was.
It was unsportsmanlike. He felt he showed him up. He didn't. I mean, the fact that you don't know what it is, goes to show. Being an official is obviously you have to understand the temperatures of the game, and that's part of it. You have to control it. Especially when it's a close game. We were outplaying them. We're out shooting them. They're getting more power plays than us. We feel like we deserve some. We didn't get them. Fine. We're battling. We're playing hard. It just seems like it's the same story. They're really good players. They don't need the help.
As an official, you need to understand the temperature of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
We were outplaying them. We were outshooting them. We were outchancing them. They already admitted to us that the Slavkovsky penalty was a bad call on their part. Josh Anderson, the unsportsmanlike, they felt that he was showing them up. He absolutely wasn't. He says to a member of the media, I think it was to Eric, he says to him, the fact that you're asking me what happened and you don't even know what happened goes to show you that there's nothing there. And by the way, the one thing that we saw, like when I hosted the post-game show last night, I said, okay, the lack of discipline, because if they called Anderson for unsportsmanlike conduct, Anderson obviously must have said something, right? He must have said that. But what we're hearing, we've had no one being able to confirm that. Marty St. Louis says they didn't give him no explanation whatsoever. But what we're hearing is there's one or two things that could have happened. He either picked the puck up when it came out of his net and he shot it down the ice. Okay. Players have done that before. Yeah. Frustration. or he tapped his stick on the ice to basically applaud the officials, which, if that's the case, they obviously felt humiliated. But once again, is that not their ego that's taking over the game?
Well, people don't pay to go watch referees, right? And the emotion of the game, you got to understand it. And if that's what it was, a tapping on the stick. I mean, in baseball, they'll say, you can almost say anything you want to the umpire as long as you don't turn around and look at them and direct it to him, and then they'll toss you or whatever. If you have to analyze video to try and find out what he did for an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, then to me, it's not an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. And especially at that point, they've just scored a power play goal. So now you're taking McDavid and these guys and putting them right back on the power play in a 1-goal game. You're almost deciding the outcome of the game. I mean, you're putting too much. Referees are not supposed to have that kind of an impact on the outcome of a game, and they did last night. And as I mentioned before, Sam Montembeault needs to make more saves, yes, but the Canadiens were rattled with those 2 power play goals. They didn't recover, and as Brian said, once they tied it, you had to figure. I had a feeling they're going to win it because the Canadiens were it was too much for them. And it was, I thought Marty St. Louis' response after the game was really good when he said, we watch video of ourselves and we show players videos to try and correct the problems, and hopefully the NHL does the same thing with the referees. And you certainly hope
that was deep.
Certainly hope. It was brilliant by Marty, because I mean, they probably will fine him, but how do you fine a guy for that? Just saying you should be better. And one of the problems with the NHL,
I don't know if they'll fine him. He said it in a way where you understood exactly what he was saying.
Well, they might, but it
was not overly insulting.
No, but he was just saying basically the NHL's got to watch this.
Yeah.
The director, they have to watch this and say to the referee, what did he do? Show me what he did to warrant the penalty that he got.
Right,
and I don't think there was anything there. And I thought Marty handled it great. And the thing is, with Gary Bettman, always insists the NHL has the best referees anywhere. And if you don't admit you have a problem, you're never going to fix it. So
with them not coming over to talk to Martin St. Louis about the Josh Anderson penalty, that tells you exactly that they don't have anything to stand on. Like, I'll come over to you, Tony, if we're having an argument and I have a lot to stand on, but I find I might be in the next room if I've got nothing to say that makes me win that argument.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's just human nature.
Yeah.
And another thing with the NHL that's human nature that drives me crazy is that they manage games.
Yes.
They want games to be close, like it's a part of their job. Refs, just call what you see. Call the infractions. You don't have to sit there and go, okay, so it's 5-3.
Mm-hmm. And we called the last 2 penalties on them.
But that didn't even follow last
night. But obviously, the whole evening out thing did not exist last night, right?
No. Exactly. And I don't think they even out. That's always been the theory, that they even out. I don't think they even out. I think they game manage. I think they go 7 minutes left, 5-3. If we give the Canadiens a power play, they can make it 6-3. Then over. This one's over. The ratings go down. The money goes down. Everything goes down. I think there's a subconscious.
When it's that blatant that the calls aren't fair, that's when you start wondering.
Yeah.
In today's
and I'm not saying, like, a lot of people are going gambling, and I think that's a slippery slope.
I think it was just bad, really bad officiating.
And I would never say that.
No, I just think
I hear
really
it a lot, but I would
officiating.
never say that. Because I think that's unfair to them. That's very accusatory. But I think on a subconscious level, everybody wants to be a part of a good game, including the refs. Yeah. Right? They want to be. And when it turns 6-3, it's not a good game anymore. But if it turns 5-4, it's exciting to the last minute. And I think that's a human nature. It's not something that's from the officials provocative or negative in terms of they're trying to be bad people. They're trying to be good people, and a good person wants a good hockey game, especially when you're a neutral.
I think it was just really bad officiating. And I think it was officials' egos. And you mentioned coming to talk to Marty St. Louis. If one of the refs had skated over to Marty and said, he called me a blankety blank blank, and I'm not accepting that.
Right, exactly. And
then Marty would go after the game. Maybe he has a different response, but not even go.
And Stu, the Slavkovsky one is exactly the same thing. You look at that, you watch the official, you see how close he is, you see how little the player was hit by Slavkovsky. He barely touches the boards. The hand goes up, and I think when you call a penalty like that as an official, I feel like instinctively you want to call something. You're looking for something to call.
Slavkovsky was like, what are you calling me for? Like, he didn't know whether he should laugh or cry.
That was a laughable penalty.
If Marty was we're talking about video, if Marty was showing video after the game to Slavkovsky of that, he'd be telling him, finish your check. He'd be like,
do that more.
No, it would be like, hit him harder. Like, it was sort of, he went in and sort of hesitant and just carefully push
I
him
saw
into
a
the
player
boards.
being careful on that hit.
Yes, exactly.
Saying, "Oh, I'm
Exactly.
looking at his numbers.
Yeah,
I better back off."
Exactly.
So I'm
I
going to
see
ask you the question that I asked you at the beginning. Once again, out of all the things that we talked about, whether it's the Oilers power play, whether it's the Canadiens penalty kill that didn't do a job, whether it's Marty St. Louis that somehow, some way couldn't stop the momentum, whether it was a bad night from Samuel Montembeault, if it was McDavid and Draisaitl taking over, if it was the referees, if you can attribute the loss last night to one thing more than something else, it would be
I say Montembeault. You give up 6 goals and 29
Montembeault.
shots.
And you say
Oh, that's tough, man.
the Oilers power play?
No, definitely not that. It's either between Montembeault. I mean, his goal saved above expected was minus 2.63.
Explain that
last night.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you look at it, heat mapping, right?
Yes.
I mean, they can talk about the percentages of how fast the shot was from what distance from the net that shot was, and how many people were in front of the net to screen that shot. I mean, it's gotten so complex right now. You have an expectation of whether the shot's going in or not to a very nth degree. It's very impressive. So when they look at Montembeault and they heat map his entire night, he should have stopped 2.63 goals more than he did. So that is a horrendous night. So the computer, the heat mapping, the analytics of it, he should have let in 3.3. He let in 6. That's a really bad night. In the NHL right now, goals saved above expected, third best in the entire NHL, Jakub Dobeš. Fourth worst in the entire NHL out of 65 goalies, Samuel Montembeault.
Best save percentage in the National Hockey League?
950, Jakub Dobeš. One of the worst, 842, Samuel Montembeault. So is it Samuel Montembeault? In the long run, yeah, because if you're a head coach, I can't sit there and talk to my boys and say, I got to improve the officiating. I got no control over that.
I had this discussion with Eric Belanger of La Poche Bleu Blanc Rouge earlier this morning. And it's one of the themes that I had on my friend's show earlier this morning. I can't put myself in Montembeault's head. Obviously, none of us can. I'm going through what appeared to be body language to me. It's one of the first times that I think I saw Montembeault shaking off nerves. Very nervous.
What do you mean?
I was taking a look at the facial expressions when a puck went off of Newark's skate, which he couldn't do anything on, or there was a puck that was deflected really well, and he couldn't do anything there. It was like, is a bounce ever going to go my way? It's like I thought he was thinking too much. I thought he was upset. I thought his demeanor changed. And usually, we talk about the best Montreal goalies have the same demeanor all the time. Montembeault seemed rattled. And then I thought about his career up to date, right? He's been here for about 5 years or whatever it is. He was picked up off of waivers by the Canadiens when Marc Bergevin was the GM of the Montreal Canadiens. And in the first couple of years, this guy didn't really have a lot of pressure because we weren't even sure if he was a National Hockey League goaltender or not, right? He was picked off of waivers.
Carey Price's knee injury, they had to find a goalie.
And there was Carey Price, and there was Jake Allen, and there were other goaltenders as well. And then Caden Primo. And then all of a sudden, like, he ends up being the number one guy. But still at that, I don't know if the pressure was very high. It's kind of like the chips fell where they may and all that stuff. But now I find that we're talking about how good Dobeš is and how good his stats are. And if there's somebody who knows it, it's Dobeš. And if there's somebody else who really knows it, it's Montembeault. And I find that yesterday it was like Montembeault felt like, you know what, I need this one badly because I'm slipping here. And don't forget, he's got added pressure this year for many reasons. Number one, his team is expected to do better. Number two, he is expected to do better. Number three, it's an Olympic year. This guy wants to be the goalie for Team Canada at the Winter Olympics. It's already going to be hard to be that because Binnington was so good last year that you would think that he's probably the number one by default. Did you get that feeling watching him last night?
I did. It looked a little bit like Caden Primo last year, right?
Yes.
We haven't seen that from Montembeault. He's so calm and cool. He's always in a good mood. He's always happy. He's always smiling. He's able to let stuff slide. He jokes about how, he never looks at the comment section after a bad game, which I'm sure he didn't after last night.
Yeah.
But it looked like he's getting pushed now by Dobeš is pushing him.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, Dobeš to me is the number one goalie for the Canadiens. I see, unless he has a bad game, I see him starting probably until there's another back-to-back. And he's aware of that. Montembeault's aware of that. There's a lot of pressure on him. But, I asked him a couple of days ago, he had that groin tear during the playoffs last season. I said, does the injury have anything to do with it? He says, no, it hasn't bothered me at all. And he said he's been playing small in net Dobush and Montembeault are about the same size, but Dobush looks much bigger in the net right now.
There won't be another back-to-back for a very, very long time. As a matter of fact, the next time the Canadiens are going to have a back-to-back is going to be at the end of November. So,
you think you're going to ride the hot goalie?
They're in
Dobush?
Vancouver on Saturday.
Yeah.
They're in Seattle on Tuesday. And then, Brian, they're going to be back in Montreal for 2 games. They'll have Ottawa on the Saturday, the 1st of November. The Flyers on the Tuesday, the 4th. Then they go to Jersey on the 6th. And you know what? I'm even wondering if a game at home is actually going to be good for Montembeault or not, because he might feel the pressure even more.
Can I add something on what you said in terms of the expectations were so low and now they're high? One of the things that I really enjoy reading when I'm not talking about the Montreal Canadiens is about sports psychology. There are 2 fears in every athlete. There's the fear of losing and the fear of winning. And people are like, fear of winning? Who's afraid of winning? And in a nutshell, when Montembeault was starting his career, he had the fear of losing. And the fear of losing hits you in a different way. There's no pressure when you have the fear of losing, because that's the expectation. Everybody thinks you're a shitty team. Can I say that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
You can say whatever you want, Brian.
Everybody thinks you're a shitty team.
I called the massage parlor this morning. After that,
that's true.
You can say whatever you want.
That's true.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks you're a shitty goalie.
Yeah.
You just got picked up on waivers. So anything you do, anything you prove is a bonus. There's no pressure. Now, fast forward 5 years. The new fear, not losing anymore. That's the easy one. The much harder fear in psychology to conquer is the fear of winning. Now you've got expectations. Everybody thinks you're a great team. You're a great goalie. You may play for Canada. And this weight on your shoulders is completely different.
You don't want to let down the fans. You don't want to let down the coach. You don't want to let down your teammates. You don't want to let down yourself.
Absolutely.
You don't want to let down your agent.
When no one expects anything of you, you can only let down yourself.
You don't want to let down your family. You don't want to let down your friends.
When everybody expects everything of you, you can let down everybody. So the fear of losing is you only let down yourself. Nobody else thinks you're any good. The fear of winning is you let down everybody.
That's why the greatest players are the greatest players, right? The ones who come through when the pressure is
because they don't have that.
Yeah.
Because they don't have that. And I think what's happening to Montembeault right now, and you just hit on it, and I loved it when you did because I wanted to expand on it, is that the fear of winning is hitting him. We have tons of expectations. We're a great team, and I'm the great goalie that's going to lead us there. Oh, hold it. No, that's completely different. I've never felt that before.
You know what I've thought about? The Canadiens have a coach who had a Hall of Fame career. Kent Hughes has an assistant who had a Hall of Fame career, Emile Lecavalier. And I understand the Canadiens have a coaching staff, and I understand the Canadiens have a goalie coach. But when a star player is going through a tough time, you can have a conversation with Marty St. Louis. You can have a conversation with Vinny Lecavalier. When a goalie is going through a tough time, besides the goalie coach, is there anyone else who...
Dobush works with Pete Fry, goalie mindset coach.
Yeah.
He works a lot with him during the offseason. He speaks with him weekly during the season. One of the things, if you're at the games, you don't see this on TV, but during TV timeouts, Dobush never goes to the bench. Most goalies do talk with the teammates. He stays beside his crease and he does mental vision, goes through mental things, pretending he's making a blocker saves, pretending he's doing that. Pete Fry doesn't want him to focus on anything but stopping the puck.
Visualization.
He doesn't even like goalies banging their stick to let the teammates know that the penalty's over, because it means they have to look up at the clock. He'd rather somebody on the bench do that, the backup goalie or somebody bang the boards. So Dobush understands the importance of the mental side of the game. When he was in Laval, the Laval goalie coach, Marco Marciano suggested he go see Pete Fry. And at first he said, no, he wasn't interested. And then he went, wow, okay. And he learned a lot from him. So Dobush right now, and we're talking about pressure. Now, if he's the number one goalie right now, I think that's a different pressure again. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles that now going forward. Now that he's in the back of his mind, he's thinking, here's my opportunity I've dreamed of my whole life to be a number one goalie in the NHL. And Montembeault, I imagine, had a sleepless night last night going, I'm right where I've always wanted to be. And now all of a sudden it's sort of falling apart. It's too early to say falling apart, but he's really struggling to start the season. And it's going to be, you're saying no more back-to-back games for a while. They're not going to want to let him sit for too long.
Yeah, I think they'll just go back forth for a little.
I think the Dobush, I think if he plays really well, they play Saturday and they play Tuesday.
Well, if Dobush plays on Saturday and he wins,
I think you start.
You think they're going to go back to Montembeault on Tuesday?
I do.
I don't.
No.
I do. Like, okay, but you're.
I understand why you say they might.
Well, no, but
Yeah.
with that answer,
I think he's rattled. They want to settle him down.
Yeah. So with that answer, you think they're that ready to park him? They're that ready to claim him as the number 2?
The other thing Tony mentioned, they come back home after that. So do you want to start him again at home his next start, or do you want to start him on the road?
Pierre Maguire
that
said that I think he said that he would go with Dobish for the next 2, and then he would go with Montembeault back home, because he says, you know what, the road trip, you've already given what you have to give. You have to reset. You come back. It's different, all that stuff. Maybe.
They're going to need both goalies.
That's for sure.
Without a doubt. I mean, Marty.
So what's the best way to have both goalies?
Yeah.
Is it to already park Montembeault?
Well, park him. I'm saying. I mean, Dobich's play is going to answer that question too, right? I mean,
yeah, but then you've parked him. You've decided that the wins in October and November are so important.
Yeah, but didn't Marty St. Louis set the tone for that by telling us in training camp that, remember, he kept on bringing up urgency?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know, we have to play with urgency. It's an urgent situation. I felt like it was his way of telling us that. Last year, we won 4 of the last 15 games, and we made life very difficult for ourselves, and we had to kill ourselves down the stretch, and we ended up making the playoffs in the final game of the season. We had no margin for error, and that's way too much stress and whatever for everyone. We don't want to be in that situation this year, so urgency. So if Marty St. Louis says urgency, it leads me to believe that if Dobish plays on Saturday and they win, Marty St. Louis looks at the next game as urgent, and he's going to play Dobish again. Now, if he loses that game on Saturday, then I would come back with Montembeault, because you're telling Montembeault there's an opportunity here for you now to be able to get back on that bike and start pedaling again, because the other guy dropped the ball. Here's your chance.
Yeah.
But if Dobish wins, I can't see him going back to Montembeault the next game.
And with I don't think the players have lost confidence in Montembeault. I mean, he's been here long enough. They've seen what he can do. I mean,
but they have a ton of it in Dobish.
Last year he played 62 games, right? There's only 2 goalies who played more. He showed last year, like the players aren't going, oh my God, this guy's there. Like, where last year with Caden Primo, that was the case. That's why Montembeault started 21 out of 23 games, whatever it was, until they called Dobish up. So you're right. I mean, I asked Marty at practice about a week ago about how important it is to have 2 goalies. Remember the Bruins did the rotation goalie.
Swayman and Olmark,
Colorado did that. And he said not only 2 goalies, it's so important to have 3 goalies, because you never know what's going to happen with injuries or whatnot. So you got Jacob Fowler in Laval also. They have the other backup they have in Laval now. So they're if this had been last year and Montembeault was terrible, now what do? You've got Caden Primo. So at least they have 2 goalies, and I think it's a healthy competition. And Marty's talked about competition is good. He's talked about this is the most talented team he's had since he took over, the most depth he's had, which makes tough decisions, which are good to have. And he's going to have some tough decisions going forward with the goalies.
All right. Canadiens and Vancouver Canucks on Saturday night. Who do you got? Go all the way with Betway. Get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. And thank you very much for them for doing so. Also, I want to give a shout out, if we can, to Au Noir. You know me, I'm all about confidence, style, making an impression, and that's exactly what you get with Au Noir. Au Noir is every man's one-stop shop. Shirts, pants, polos, suits, or sports jackets, everything is made for comfort with stretch and sophisticated details for the perfect fit, whether you're going for a classic or bold look, heading to the office, a night out, or cheering for your team. Au Noir has you covered. Because Au Noir isn't just clothing, it's your attitude. Brian, you're going to love this one. Check them out today at aunoir.com. And trust me, once you go Au Noir, you never go back.
That's good.
And Au Noir brings you Stu Cowan today. Hey?
That's a great
slogan. That's fantastic.
Whoever came up with that.
Whoever came up with that one is has a job for life. All right. I want to bring up the game summary last night, so we could take a look at who had the ice time they had. No, not the game summary. Actually, the face-off percentages. There we go. That's the game summary. Okay. Here we go. Mike Matheson. Keep this up, please. 25-11. Actually had the second most ice for the Canadiens because Noah Dobson at 25-16. Stu, we know that Mike Matheson is a cardio machine. We know that at 31, he's in better shape than probably a 23-year-old. We know that when he's going to be 36, he's probably going to be in better shape than a 31-year-old. I don't understand, though, why they gave Matheson 25 and a half minutes the night before in Calgary, knowing that the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl were coming up last night.
And it was he who didn't have the energy on the last minute,
and it was he who did not, and it was he who had, let's be honest, and I know it says +1, but Mike Matheson did not have one of his better games last night. Now, look.
And you could argue the 6th goal was on him.
I would say the 6th goal is on him.
Okay.
He doesn't,
and Montembeault, though.
He isn't able to get his stick on puck holes, and he doesn't tie him up.
Right.
He leaves him the space within a couple of feet from the net with 1 minute and 9 seconds left in the hockey game. So I didn't quite understand that, Stu, but once again, it shows how reliant the Canadians are on Mike Matheson.
Oh, it shows how much, I think they need to re-sign him. I mean, you say, yeah, he had maybe a rough game last night, but, Marty always says you got to play the games in front of you. You got to, and that's what he is when he's doing ice time also.
Yeah.
I'm sure he doesn't go into the game saying Matheson's going to play 26 minutes. It's just how the game goes and how it goes along. I think him and Dobson have made each other better. They both cover so much ice, and, Marty wants to have that aggressive, the defenseman being aggressive in the neutral zone so the other team has problems even getting into the offensive zone. You can't do that unless you have guys who can skate well. These two guys can skate really well, but Mike Matheson's, Mike Matheson could play 30
and does.
Game.
Yeah.
and does. And I don't, the effort level is always there. Maybe he was a little tired at the end
But
of
look
that
at the
game,
third pair.
But he's, that's what it comes down to, right? You're playing against the Oilers. You want Matheson on the ice when McDavid's on the ice. McDavid got a lot of ice time in that third period, right? So you're matching up against, or trying to match up against him, even though you're on the road. So I think that explains, you want your two best defensemen on the ice when the Oilers stars are on the ice. I think that explains why he has so many minutes.
Once again, Cole Caulfield had 2 goals last night. Alex Newhook had 2 goals. Josh Anderson had a goal. Caulfield had 5 shots on goal. Nick Suzuki had 6 shots on goal. The Canadiens got absolutely destroyed in the faceoff circle. Kapanen's the only one who did pretty good with 60%. Joe Veleno had 50%. It was a terrible night for Kirby Dach, who was at 20%. Jake Evans was 45%. 40% for Alex Newhook, 22% for Nick Suzuki. It was a disaster in the faceoff circle for the Canadiens last night. The fourth line of Kirby Dach, Joe Veleno, and Alex Bolduc was a total of -5. They had no identity whatsoever. But guys, and now we could a good night for Oliver Kapanen with 2 assists, and a good night for Lane Hudson with 2 assists. We'll take this.
Can I make one point before we leave that graphic?
Yeah, please.
I find it really interesting because I mentioned earlier that the Corsi, let's just call it in this case, there were 2 lines that are around 95. Hey,
yeah,
the Demidov, Kapanen, and
Newhook.
That's a
and
great
Newhook,
line.
and that was 95.
Yes.
Okay, and Suzuki was 95 too. But look at the shots there: 5 and 6 Suzuki and Caulfield for 11. But look at the other line that was absolutely dominant. And Demidov again has only 1 shot.
Yeah.
He has only 7 shots in 9 games. For a guy who's basically got the puck on a string, he's got to start shooting more.
He didn't play a great game last night.
No. But overall, 7 shots in 9, for as good as that player is, he's got to start shooting more. Now, it's natural. You're a rookie. You're playing your first dozen games at the NHL level. You defer. It's normal, right?
You want to gain the respect of your team.
You want to gain the respect. But eventually, this guy's got to start shooting the puck. He's that type of player. And that line, to have a 95 Corsi and have Demidov with just 1 shot, Kapanen with no shots, and Newhook 3.
Before
we got to do more.
Before we remove the graphic, I want you both gentlemen to look at Jaden Struble, 14:48 of ice time. Arbor Jackai, 8:49. Yeah. We can remove it now. We can remove it. Last game, or the game before in Calgary, one of the things I brought up was, hey, Struble only played 36 seconds more than Jackai, and Jackai played some time on the penalty kill, and Struble did not. And that was, I thought, you know what? Maybe something's happening here, because in all the other games before that, Struble played 4, 5, 6 minutes more than Jackai. In Calgary, once again, only 36 seconds more. Last night, 6 minutes more than Jackai again. Brian, we saw Jackai play more games than Struble last year, but we saw the Canadiens finish the last 10 games of the season with Struble and start the playoffs with Struble, and then we saw Jackai play the last 3 games of the playoffs. We saw Jackai have a great camp and start the season and play the first 4 games, and then Struble came in as of game 5, and ever since he's come in the last 4 or 5 games, Struble's played much better hockey.
Struble had a good camp also.
And he did.
Yeah.
The fact that Arbor Jackai last night, the Canadiens are without Caden Goalie on defense, of course. And Pierre Maguire said they really missed him last night. You could tell because they had to give everyone more. Even Carey logged a lot of minutes. Does it lead you to believe that Jack is again now the number 7.
When Goalie comes back, yeah. But I mean, that fluctuated last season too, right? Between him and Struble. But Struble's played really well. And, you talk about the ice time for the 5th and 6th defenseman. I'm sure if you go through all the Edmonton Oilers games with Draisaitl and McDavid on the ice, the number 5 and 6 defensemen for any team don't get a whole lot of ice time. Those guys play a lot of minutes.
They get more than 849.
Those guys play a lot of minutes, and you're trying to match up
11-ish.
They get more than 849.
Your top guys. So it's Marty obviously doesn't have trust in Jack-Eye.
That's the bottom line.
That's what it comes down to. I mean, some people say they don't like him. He doesn't like him. I don't think that's the case. Jack-Eye says his relationship with Marty's great.
Exactly.
Treats me like a son. Exactly. I think it's just he doesn't trust him enough defensively. And you got to remember too, Arbor Jack-Eye was never drafted, right? It's not like he was a first, second round pick come to the NHL. He was never drafted for reasons, right? And so it's compared with Struble. Struble was a second round pick of second. Yeah, that's right. And there's a difference there, right? And for Jack-Eye, it's tough for him. And Marty's coaching Jack-Eye, and I think Marty sees the potential that's there. But he also sees some of the issues where Jack-Eye will get caught out of position or go looking for the big hit or do things like that. Yeah, I think he's a project for Marty. And I think the Canadiens make a big mistake if they were to trade Jack-Eye because, they've described his brother as a unicorn. Well, he's a unicorn too. There's not a lot of guys 6'4", 240-pound defensemen in the NHL who you can put on the ice. I mean, he's not there just to fight. Marty doesn't want him to. He wants to get that out of his head. I want you to be a hockey player.
I think also that the discourse is a little spoiled because what the Canadiens have achieved here is pretty rare. They have a first pair with a veteran who's getting better in Matheson. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, he's better. Him and Dobson have helped each other.
Right. But that's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like the progression of a player, he usually stops around 27, 28. This dude's getting better, which is nuts. Right. And he hasn't slowed down his skating at all in Matheson. Then he's joined by another guy who's already been at the top of his game at the age of 25 for 2-3 years. So Dobson is a decision maker already at 25, and they have him for 8. That's incredible. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then you got Caden Goalie, who is not been in the league very long, but is a mature defenseman. Mm-hmm. Then you got Carrier, who seems to be from Nashville to Montreal, getting better.
He's so good.
Right? And then you got Struble, a second rounder who's way above his station. And so to me, Jack-Eye is going a little bit through what they all go through, but it's standing out because the other guys are all unicorns as defensemen.
Yeah.
You know what's happening to Logan Mailloux in St. Louis? He sucks. Is that bad? It's normal. It's normal to suck as an NHL defenseman in your first.
And he was a first-round pick.
And he barely played.
He was a first-round pick.
He barely played.
If they want to do him a favor, they should put him back in the AHL. He's not ready.
Of course they should, but they made a trade where they're going to look bad if they do because the other guy's scoring at a 19 and, so they're in a tough spot in St. Louis. They messed that up. But the point is that Logan is doing what defensemen do in their first year and first 2 years. There are a ton of growing pains. So Jack-Eye having a little bit of growing pains looks brutal to us because everybody else is excelling to crazy levels beyond their scope.
Alex Carrier is so good. I mean, he makes the right move every time. And I understand fans get upset with Jack-Eye out of the lineup and not getting minutes because everybody loves the tough guy, right? Especially in this. Everybody loved John Ferguson. Everybody loves Chris Nyland. They love that style of player. And
Still
they love
today.
Jack-Eye. But if you look at it honestly, Jaden Struble's played better than Arbor Jack-Eye.
Yeah, he has. You know who else played his better hockey, his best hockey at 31, 32, 33, 34? That was a defenseman. Jeff Petrie for the Canadiens. He got better as in his 30s.
Well, they get smarter, right? And talking with Noah Dobson, I wrote a column right before the Edmonton game about how everything he does is just so smooth and effortless. And then, of course, he has a bad giveaway the next game for his bad mistake he'd had in 8 games. But he said he learned early in his career that the easy play is the best play very often. And that's something that defensemen need, especially first-round pick, right? Noah Dobson, very skilled, offensively skilled defenseman. You got to realize sometimes the easy play is the great play.
I asked Shea Weber once, what is the most important skill of a defenseman? I thought he'd, say something like big shot or physicality, hitting guys. He said decision-making by far. He said decision-making by a long, long way. So when you look at who's excelling and why 28 is when a defenseman maybe hits their peak or 29, it's because their brain has now hit the top function and their body has not declined. It's the confluence of those two moments.
The experience of
Exactly.
making mistakes when you're young and then learning from them. Right?
Exactly.
And Marty
but
St.
your
Louis,
body has not
Marty
yet
St. Louis is a
begun
great coach. I mean,
degrading.
he's told,
Yeah.
he always says, I'll accept mistakes. It's when they become a pattern, right? When you keep doing the same thing
course.
over and over again,
Of
then
course.
he gets upset. So he's a perfect guy to teach. And I think, as I said, I think with Arbor Jacka, I think he sees him as a project.
give him
He
time,
sees a
man.
lot of potential
Young
in that
guy,
guy.
give him time. He'll
And
be
he can
fine.
skate. Arbor can skate. Arbor can play the style of game.
He
that
came in better shape too in camp.
He came
and he
lighter,
looked better.
and he's ripped now. I mean, he was always a big guy, but now he's ripped. I mean, his mother's cooking all summer and working out. Like he knows he has to get faster foot speed to play in today's NHL. And as I said, he's a sixth defenseman right now.
Speaking of foot speed, I'll talk about one player who has a lot of that in just a second. Brian Wilde is brought to you by Fruiterie Dillard, a family-run business, mainstay in the LaSalle community since 1995. Proud to continue offering the same fresh foods and flavors that they have for the past 30 years, from fresh fruits and produce delivered daily to an ever-expanding assortment of deli meats, cheeses, and sandwiches. You find personalized services and friendly faces that make you feel like family at Fruiterie Dillard. I've been going there since 1995, and I go there pretty much every Saturday. I think the owner of the establishment, Tasso, can tell you that. That is an absolute truth. That's a fact. Newark looks really good this year. Like I look at him and I say, okay, they need to get bigger, they need to get stronger, and eventually, he's got this year and next year on his contract, and I don't know if he's going to be here long term, but he's done exactly everything that's been asked of him, and that line looks great. Oliver Kapanen has played really, really good, Oliver Kapanen. Once again, that play that he made to Newark was absolutely fantastic yesterday. Newark looked great, Kapanen looked great. I think Demidov looked the least effective out of the three on that line. And we'll end it with this, guys. A really tough night for Kirby Dach and Joe Veleno. Joe Veleno did not look good at all on the wing, but he looked better in the games before that. And I think it coincides with the fact that A, he was put on the wing, and B, he's put on a line with Dach. Dach, no one's looked good next to Dach this year, and I'm not saying it to be mean. I think, can we agree this is a fact?
They started with Demidov, with Dach, and Laine,
yeah,
right? And then they realized, okay, we can't do that to the kid.
No
We
chance.
can't
So
do
do
that.
we agree on this, that no one's looked good next to Dach, and no one's looked good next to Laine? Now, Laine's out of the lineup right now. We were told he was going to go for a second opinion on his lower body injury. It obviously can't be good for him to seek a second opinion. What do you do with Kirby Dach? I was looking at it last night. He's played about 123 games with the Canadiens. I didn't count them, but he probably played, 9 or 10 with Caulfield and Suzuki 3 years ago? Probably 9 or 10. He's probably been 113 games with the Canadiens. How many games out of the 113 that you can say off the top of your head, I loved him at center?
And he had that one big game in Chicago in his homecoming.
No, but can you say that probably out of
no.
113 games, you liked them for 13?
Before his first ACL.
And you probably didn't like him for 100? Like,
you can't say you've liked him for a single game after his first ACL.
The bright side to this,
right?
though,
Like he's minus 29 last year in between the two ACLs.
Yeah. The bright side with this is that
where was there to like?
In Florida, Tampa Bay, and Vegas, I think
he had a couple
okay.
good games.
He had a couple of good games.
Yeah,
the bright side of this is Kapanen is looking like what they hoped Dach would look like.
Yes.
Kapanen's a very
and that'll be okay
smart.
if Kapanen ends up being a full-time second-line centerman. But I have a feeling he's a third.
But for now, I mean, this is what they were hoping, a young guy to grow into that second-line center role. That's what they were hoping for Kirby Dach.
Yeah.
And Kapanen, it's a very small sample size so far. But right from training camp, he's just so smart. As Marty said, he has a NHL computer in his head. He thinks that, you talk about decision-making. He makes good decisions.
Center, just like a defenseman. You gotta,
yes. He struggled a little bit in the face-off circle this season, not as bad as Dach. And it amazes me how bad Dach is on face-offs. He's a big, strong guy. If you can't win it, just tie the guy up and have your winger come in and get the
You know what worries me? Max Lapierre said on the podcast a couple of weeks ago that he noticed that Kirby Dach's skating stride is like very upright. And he says he needs to bend his knees to get a lot more torque, and a lot more torque will give him a lot more speed.
But how much torque? 2 major knee injuries. Right?
I'm starting to wonder if he could do it.
Yeah.
I'm starting to wonder if he's physically
He might be starting to
incapacitated.
wonder if he can do it, which is even worse.
Well,
in his mind, like
you know what's even worse? He's in the final year of his career. Like if he keeps going like this, he'll get a qualifying offer of like a year or something. Like he'll like I'm not gonna say he's done,
but here's my thought on Dach that pervades in my head. I kept telling a story in my Call of the Wild column over and over again. He can't handle second line matchups. Now he can't handle third line matchups. Sometimes he's facing the fourth line at home. MSL tries to get him the best matchup possible. He can't even handle that. Like, where do you go from here? Like, if you've made the argument for a whole year that he can't handle Connor McDavid second line, first line matchups, now he's getting the easier matchups and he still can't handle that. I don't know where we go from here. All I can hope for is for the man himself, and I'm in his corner, that the knee continues to recover, because he's not the same player pre-knee.
No.
Pre-knee, he looked like he was going to become a great hockey player. The guy that Kent Hughes traded for is gone.
I've said this before, and there's a bunch of players that he could talk to, and he doesn't have any connection with Andrei Markov, but Andrei Markov, after 2 ACLs to the same knee, there's a lot of us in the media that thought it was all.
I thought he was done.
We thought he was done.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was done.
He ended up playing amazing.
But remember how
he's
long
going to
it
be
took,
in Montreal,
though,
I think, on the 3rd of December.
Yeah.
Maybe they should
Remember
have
how long it
Also a
took?
defenseman, not as much skating as a centerman.
I think what's important here, when you mention Markov, is the year after the surgery on the ACL, second one, the year after, he was not good. And that's when we were writing him off. And then the year after that. So, like, I'm trying to make the argument that the ACL reconstruction is so serious that it really doesn't take for 18 months. It can be that type of injury. Achilles is the same thing. When you tear your Achilles, Teemu Selanne the year after, not good. Everybody like, oh, Teemu's done. He was fine.
I've never been through it, obviously, but I would be willing to bet that the mental part of it could probably be as hard, if not worse, than the physical part of it.
Right, because every time you go into the corner and you feel like you're in a puck battle, okay, is this thing going to give out again? Because it's already given out on me 2 seasons in a row.
Chris Nyland told me he had the major knee injury early in his career, and when he came back, he was tentative. This is Chris Nyland. And then at one point, he realized, I'm not going to be in the NHL. I just got to go all out, and if it blows out again, it blows out again.
You know what he did, eh?
That's the attitude you have to have.
You know what he did, eh?
What was that?
He told me about it.
Mm-hmm.
He took off the brace.
Yeah.
Right? Even though they told him, you need the brace.
Mm-hmm.
He felt that if he was playing with the brace, he would change the way he would play.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, I can't change the way I play. Yeah. I got to keep playing what got me to the National Hockey League. So he put away the brace, and he went out with reckless abandon. And
they said he had to, or else I wasn't going to be in the NHL.
And he didn't get hurt.
No. But you look at now, Line also, right now he's out again, and lower body injury, and you're wondering if it's the left knee again. You figure it probably is. I saw him talking with Gorton and Hughes outside the locker room after the last home game, and then he was limping noticeably.
Oh, he was limping. That's good insight.
To the garage. But remember last season, he went for a second opinion also and decided not to have surgery.
You remember what the first opinion was?
Surgery.
The first opinion for the Canadiens doctor was, when he got hurt in the preseason to his knee injury, you need surgery.
Yeah.
Right? And he was likely going to be out for the year.
Yeah.
You know what the second opinion was, because he went for one. It was, you need surgery. And he was likely going to be out for a year. So then what did he do?
He went for a third?
He hopped on a plane and he went to the States. He went to get a third opinion. And the third opinion said, no, you know what? You don't need surgery after all. You need 3 months off and follow this physio program and rehabilitation program, and you'll be okay. He came back on December 2nd. He played the last 52 games of the regular season. He scored 20 goals. I don't know anything about his lower body surgery right now, the knee and his limping. Can it be that it's caught up with him, and maybe the first 2 doctors in the end were right when they told him, you're going to need the surgery?
And
hard to know.
If he had the surgery last season, the Canadiens probably don't make the playoffs. As Ken Hughes said at the end of the season, and he's right, they don't make the playoffs without
his goals.
He came back, he had 8 goals in his first 9 games, and they were 6-3 during that span.
3 goals in the first 3 games.
And so without those wins, they don't get in the playoffs. And Ken Hughes said that at the end of the season. We're not in the playoffs without. So people who want to dump on Patrick Laine, think about that. He came back. He was told he wanted to play so badly. He came back. And I've been wondering this season, because he said he was skating in Brossard every day during the summer. He wants to be here. I've spoken with his wife. They want to be here. They love Montreal. The effort level's been there, but he just can't keep up with the pace. Marty wants to play with that style. And how much of that? He's not that old. I mean, he's not even 30. Is he?
No, he's 28.
20.
Everybody helped.
Is it the knee that is the reason why he can't keep up? And now he's realizing that. And now he's realized this is the last year of his contract. And if I want to continue to play in the NHL, I've got to show I can keep up with the pace of play. And that might require me having surgery to have this knee fixed properly.
Yeah. Every player helped the Canadiens get in last year, and then every member of the team. They got in because of Marty St. Louis. They got in because of Roger Grillo. They got in because of the coaching staff. They got in because of Montembeault. They got in because of Dobish. They got in because of Patrick Liney. They got in because of Demidov in the last couple of games. They got in because of Lane Hudson. They got in because of the first line, the Dvorak line, the Jake Evans line. They got in because of everybody last year. It was a total team effort. What do you expect in ending? What do you expect tomorrow night in Vancouver?
I think that this has not impacted them psychologically in any way at all. The loss last night.
They'll bounce back.
100%.
I don't know if they will. It's 3 games and 4 nights travel included, and they used up a lot of energy in the last 2 games.
Yeah.
I'm worried about it.
They're young. I think they bounce back against Vancouver. I think Dobish has a good game. Marty, you're talking about the mental part of the game. Marty's so good at that. And I'd love to hear what he says to the players. They're off today. I don't know if he had any meeting, but if they have a meeting tomorrow, I'd love to know what Marty says to them about putting that behind them. And I think they're young, they're eager. This team, I think they're going to feed off it. I think they're going to come out with a really strong effort against it.
Special thanks to our major partner, which is Betway, that brings you the Sick Podcast in English, and they also bring you Le Sick Podcast en français. The same thing for Le Bittt at Tibi, that bring you the Sick Podcast in English and bring you the Sick Podcast en français. Want to give a shout out as well to Energy Transportation Group, to Playground, to Au Noir, and to Fruiterie de Lard. Brian Wilde, thank you so much for coming in today, my man. Thank you, Stu Cowan. Very much appreciated. For the Cavallaro family and Master Control and Alexis Lavoie Martel, thanks for watching the Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro. Have a great Friday night and have a great weekend.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.